folks, it's Totalbiscuit of Totalbiscuit's Rootin' Tootin' Tauren Bar and Grill. If you're like me, you're hungry and incredibly lazy right now, but boy, do I have a treat for you. How does a 24-ounce slab of Andahal grain-fed Tauren T-bone sound? All of our Tauren are 100% homegrown, none of those stringy power-level Chinese imports. We've got all kinds of Tauren on the menu. We've got Big Tauren, Small Tauren, Druid Tauren, Warrior Tauren. We've even got those new Tauren Paladin everyone's been talking about, blessed by the light himself and ideal for Sunday dinner. And don't worry, we've got you vegetarians covered too. Why not try our delicious organic gnome roast? Gnomes are a vegetable, right? Come on down to Totalbiscuit's Rootin' Tootin' Tauren Bar and Grill, Junction 27 off the Goblin Highway in Ashara. If you fall off the cliff, you've gone too far. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on CynicalBrit.com, expanding out into the restaurant business today, as well as the hobby of annoying Tauren players. Always enjoyable. Welcome to Mulgore. I have rolled a Tauren Paladin. I was going to roll Holy Cow, but he's on vacation, so I got a Scandinavian cousin, Howie Cow, and he will be playing for us today. Now, as you can see, we start off with a big hammer. Always good. Nothing worse than a Paladin without a big hammer. Indeed, nothing worse than a Tauren without a big hammer, so it's a match made in heaven as far as I'm concerned. We also get Crusaders Strike as a starting ability, and I'll show you that in just a moment. There have been some fairly major changes, so let's do a map comparison. This is the new one, and there's the vanilla version. So as you can see, quite a few changes, but the ones we're going to be centering on today surround the Red Cloud Mesa, which is the starting zone for the Tauren, and the Quill War have invaded in a fairly significant manner. A lot of damage done to the terrain and to the surrounding Tauren buildings. There are also quite a few more fortifications, not only to deal with the threat from within, but also from outside, because the Alliance are responsible for burning Camp Tarajo in the Barrens to the ground, which spurred on the construction of the Great Gate, which we saw in the Barrens tour video. This entire starting zone has a very melancholy theme throughout it. The Tauren are, understandably, rather upset. If you read the quest text, you will notice that the Cataclysm caused a massive swarm of Quill War to invade the area, which overwhelmed the Tauren and slaughtered a good number of them. A lot of their settlements and buildings were burned to the ground, and many of their people have been enslaved by the rampaging Quill War. So we have been brought in to try and quell that invasion simply because they're short on warriors more so than anything else. It's quite depressing when you think about it, and far more so than the troll and the human starting zones, this one is really showing a darker side to WoW in general, which is what we'd expect out of Cataclysm. In this case, they're putting us up against a foe that we can't possibly relate to and is very, very easy to despise. So they're playing very well into your emotions then, trying to get you engaged in the story. As to how well that works, well, I suppose that's up to the individual. Okay, a couple of basics right here. We are on the Tauren fortifications bordering the now absolutely devastated area over here in Mulgore. Basic kill going on right here, and we also have to free a couple of our Tauren fellows. Now, this Crusader Strike that we have here is an instant, and it takes a couple of seconds to cool off. It's 100% weapon damage across the board. It's quite nice to have, and it can be devastating, particularly if we crit. And I've seen one of these boars go down in almost a single hit from that, which is very good. And of course we get from this quest a new hammer immediately, which is going to really help our damage scaling early on with that. I suppose the only problem I really have with this implementation of Crusader Strike is that once you use it, it's on cooldown for a little while and you're just forced to auto-attack. It's not all that great for getting you engaged with the combat system, honestly. It's one of the problems I've got with WoW in general, specifically the old content and a lot of the leveling up stuff, is that in some parts you feel like the character's playing itself. So the combat system not being all that engaging and all that direct doesn't help with the immersion factor. That said, this only lasts for a couple of levels and then you get hold of a seal and a judgment, so things start to get a little bit more interesting from there on in. Thankfully these things go down fairly fast, so nothing to really worry about. And that's a thoroughly dislikable bastard. No problem slaughtering them at all. Let's put on our stylish leather pants. Right, so there's our Braves. in the cages, but we're going to need to grab some keys. Now, these keys don't come from the warriors. They come from the neutral guys over there. Now, what I will show you is the phenomenon of double drops. This is not unknown. Funnily enough, the first one I remember was in the Quill War killing quest back in Vanilla, in the Barrens, where you had to get 60 of their tusks, and you thought that's terrible, but a lot of them actually drop too. Here, they seem to be a guaranteed double drop. We'll see another quest that does that later on in the zone, but it's pretty encouraging when you think about it. When you've got quests that are non-guaranteed drops, or just quests that take absolutely ages, you can't help but think, well, this was a lazy piece of time filler, wasn't it? As opposed to crafting a quest that's engaging and entertaining, they made one that was just designed to keep you playing for a little bit longer. Now, you're going to find some of that in an MMO, it's just the way of things. When you're designing thousands upon thousands of quests, they can't all be, say, the end quest from the Troll starting zone. They're not all going to be that well designed, that well scripted and epic. But it's nice to see that they aren't afraid to streamline the content when need be. Excellent. That's 4 of those dealt with, and we can dash back and grab our next quest. We don't get our ability till level 3, so we're going to have to be a bit patient for that. It's pretty grim, though, when you think about it. It even burnt that seer's tent, as I recall. Is he on fire? That's... oh, dear. Dead Tauren on fire. That's a grim, grim sight. This was a pretty happy zone overall. I mean, there were a few things wrong with it, but otherwise it was quite a nice place to hang around. Now, not so much. You're in the middle of a war zone and a bit of Tauren genocide going on here.
Ancestors watch over you.
Okay, where are we heading off to next? Well, there's an outpost on the outskirts of the Quill War settlement. I call it a settlement in the most loose term possible. It's more like an encroachment, an invasion. You can see very dark on the map there, and it's not a pretty sight. So we'll head on over there and see what she's got for us. Hopefully it involves slaughtering these bastards. I mean, how can you not feel like you want to kill these guys when you just see the brutality that they've inflicted? We saw quite a bit of dark material in Wrath, but it's nice to see that they're willing to go all out in some of the starting zones here. And take the Worgen, for instance. You've got a bit of Battlestar Galactica going on there. You've got a increasingly reduced number of people fleeing from place to place to place to escape a supposedly implacable enemy. Obviously, there's a bit of humor in there as well, which is good, but in this case, this is a zone that was peaceful, really, overall. And we're talking about hunting Planestriders and things like that, not slaughtering thousands of Quillboar that are out for your blood. I do mean quite literally. They also stole our guns, which is totally unacceptable. You're a Quillboar, give them back. They don't even fit. Thank you. Now, I don't really know why these drop 2 guns. That's a little odd. Where's the other one? Actually, don't ask. Ugh. Tad unnecessary for the double drop here, honestly, but hey, whatever. Anything that allows me to get through the zone just a little bit faster would be fine. Now, you'll also notice you've got the thorn callers there. They are the reason that these thorns are coming out of the ground. They didn't just spontaneously appear because Quillboar were near. Somebody needs to work on their decor, I tell you. Every Quillboar zone I see these damn things. They can't be all that practical. Excellent. Level 3. That gets us Seal of Righteousness and, of course, the Judgment mechanic. It's nicely paced out as well, because you'll have noticed that back at the outpost we were at, there was a Tauren with a silver quest, and that unlocks to give us our consecrated letter, which takes us back to Camp Narash, and will give us what we need. All aboard the Holy Cow Train. Next stop, imbalanced abilities. Fantastic. Let's hand these in. I could run around in a robe, but really. I knew a guy who used to do that. He had full devout. He was a paladin. Ugh. Not everything was better back in vanilla, I can tell you that. Now, if we're going to go killing, I've got to get my wardrobe in order. Right. Another kill quest, you think? Oh, well, that's really dull. Not really. This one's got a nice twist to it that feeds in. See what I did there? Yes, no. Didn't think so. You'll see in a minute, because we're going to run back to Camp Narash. We've got our little letter of commendation, or should I say consecration, and we'll head on back, grab ourselves those abilities, and make things a little bit easier. Now, those of you who'd like a brief rundown of the lore as regards to Tauren Paladins, it basically goes something along the lines of this. The Tauren Paladins are called the Sun Walkers, and just as you can call power from the moon, and that's what the druids do, you can apparently also call power from the sun. And they're shutting the server down, so I'm going to need more than sun power to get through this zone in time. To speed things up a bit. So yeah, that's the basic lore behind it. I imagine there's a lot more to it. But there doesn't appear to be too much knocking around in that regard yet.
Go in peace. How may I aid you?
Okay. Train it up. And just like the human starting zone, you get a chance to try this one out, so that's very nice. It's not giving me my tutorial messages. Maybe that's account-wide or something, but I'm fairly sure I was getting them earlier. Yes, we need to go back there. There aren't any dummies around here. Well, there is one. It's behind this keyboard and this microphone. Okay. There we go. There's the seal, and there's the judgment. Simple as that. No problem at all. That one's still got a cooldown as well. But we've got extra damage, and we've got extra burst. And honestly, the burst of the Tauren Paladin very early on, and of course this applies to every Paladin, is fairly high. We've got to make our way back over here. We're dealing with the battle boars. Now, the nice thing about this quest, the gimmick that they've got going on, is you think, oh, it's kill 10 armored battle boars. How incredibly boring. Yes, but you can also kill them with fire. You'll note the little torch that we have there in the Feed of Evil quest. We have to set the troughs on fire because that's, well, apparently they're being fed all this nasty stuff which makes them evil. And the Taurens are big into the druid thing, big into the balance of nature, and they're a little annoyed about the whole thing. Apparently these guys are beyond fixing, so let's throw a torch in there, and suddenly, anyone fancy some bacon? Brilliant. And it counts as a kill as well. That's the best thing. So let's throw another one. If you just wait for them to get really close, then you can fry a whole bunch of them with those torches. He's got quite the arm, hasn't he? And quite the aim. That's a slam dunk. Fantastic. Nothing wrong with a bit of pot roast in the morning. Now that makes the quest significantly easier and a lot quicker. If you're careful with your placement, you could probably get all your kills that way. Nothing wrong with that. This isn't all that long a video. I wanted to take you to the end of this arc before we go to the next village. That takes it from level 1 to 4, which is quite surprising considering the amount of killing you do. The amount of XP you get from these quests isn't all that much, but then again, we're not doing all that many. The total playtime in this zone was about 20 minutes. Now, while this zone isn't laden with gimmicks, and it's not a very tight scripted and directed experience like the Worgen starting zone, I like the underlying theme of it. I like the fact that they try their best to tell a story and make you hate the Quill War, because, let's be honest, they're being douchebags. And even we get the chance now to kill the big boss of them, and he is not remotely likable either. There is no misunderstanding here. The Quill War are literally just bad creatures. They want the Tauren dead. They want to destroy this entire area. And it's hard not to feel just a little bit annoyed by what they've done. So let's go dispense some righteous fury. Justice ready. Oh dear. Well done beef all over the place. Didn't I tell you you've got to cook it rare? Otherwise you're ruining it. It's horrendous. Now, I like this guy because he's pretty tough and he's got a couple of neat abilities. Makes you feel like you're actually fighting something threatening. Now, I doubt you can die to him, but you take a good amount of damage. Like, hey, can I avoid the torch toss? No, I can't. But hey, now I'm on fire as well. It looks like he's got 2 fiery axes as well. He can put out quite a little bit of damage for a low-level mob. More of that, please. I'd like to see more encounters where I feel like I'm fighting someone above the run-of-the-mill average grunt that dies in 2 hits. Okay, we have his mane, and we should throw it on the barbecue, as far as I'm concerned, in a ceremonial bit of revenge. Now, if we give this to Chief Hawkwind, maybe he'll give us a ride on his silver machine. I predict about 3 people will get that joke. And this is it. The culmination of this zone is a rather sad ceremony, a funeral, if you will. We heard right at the start that Chief Hawkwind's mother was slaughtered by the Quill War, and I really don't like funerals. I should stay. It's fairly depressing, isn't it? But it's nice. It's a good bit of engagement. Try and maybe get just a little bit of emotion out of people. I don't know if it'll work for most, but it's good that they're trying, I think. That's the main thing. A moment of silence for Tauren Past. Yes, indeed. My name's been Totalbiscuit, and this has been Tauren Starting Zone, levels 1 to 4. I'll most likely return to this in a future video. We're back on with Goblin and Worgen, and if you're watching this, then I've either got Goblin 4 up already, or it's sitting on YouTube in processing. Plenty more content to come, ladies and gents. As always, thank you ever so much for watching this video, and I shall see you next time.